Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic port aboard this tiny ship.
Do you remember when television could turn a simple idea into pure magic, when a 3-hour tour became one of the most recognizable adventures in TV history? In the mid-1960s, Gilligan's Island wasn't just a comedy. It was America's weekly escape from a world wrestling with change. While rockets launched into space and headlines spoke of war, millions gathered around flickering screens to watch 7 castaways build hope out of bamboo and laughter. It was silly, innocent, and irresistibly human. Every coconut radio, every botched rescue reflected a country longing for simplicity. Yet behind the laughter lay real stories, acts of courage, artistic battles, and accidents that shaped television itself. Some were funny, others quietly profound, but all of them reveal how this cheerful little show became something far greater than it ever intended to be. So what really happened behind the palm trees and laughter? Let's find out. Fact 12. Ron Howard almost said no. It's hard to imagine Happy Days without the soft-spoken, red-haired teenager who became the moral center of every episode. Yet in the early 1970s, Ron Howard almost walked away before the story even began. Having already spent his childhood as America's favorite kid next door on The Andy Griffith Show, Howard wanted to trade acting for directing. He had been accepted into the University of Southern California's film program, shooting short films on weekends, dreaming of being behind the camera rather than in front of it. But destiny rarely takes a straight road. When Gary Marshall offered him the role of Richie Cunningham, Howard hesitated. Then life added a twist: the Vietnam draft. His draft number was low enough to make him uneasy, and acting on a television show offered an unlikely lifeline, a work deferment available to productions employing more than 30 people. Accepting the role meant both a steady paycheck and a safe future. Reluctantly, he signed on, unaware that this choice would change his life, and indirectly, the course of television history. By 1974, Happy Days premiered and instantly captured the yearning of a generation nostalgic for an idealized 1950s. What started as a way to dodge the draft became a launchpad for a lifetime in film. Marshall kept his promise to nurture Howard's directorial ambitions, allowing him behind-the-scenes experience. Those lessons later gave rise to Apollo 13, A Beautiful Mind, and Frost. Nixon proof that the cheerful teenager from Milwaukee would become one of Hollywood's most respected storytellers. In retrospect, Happy Days wasn't just a show, it was a classroom where one young actor learned how to shape American cinema. The story of Ron Howard's unlikely decision sets the stage for the show's next twist: the arrival of a character who would redefine cool, sometimes overshadowing Richie himself. Fact 11. Fonzie wasn't meant to be the main character. In the beginning, Arthur Fonzarelli Fonzie, to everyone who mattered, was little more than a background figure. The show's creators envisioned him as a leather-jacketed rebel who gave Richie a touch of edge, a friendly contrast to the sweetness of suburban life. His early lines were short, his presence occasional, and network executives even debated whether such a tough image belonged on a family sitcom. But Henry Winkler had other plans. With a subtle charm, calm authority, and a hint of vulnerability behind his half-smile, he turned Fonzie into a phenomenon. When he first uttered the now legendary "Ayu," the live audience erupted, and the producers took notice. Ratings climbed each time he appeared. Fan letters poured in by the thousands. Suddenly, the modest supporting role became the beating heart of the series. Executives at ABC were so captivated that they proposed renaming the show Fonzie's Happy Days, or even just Fonzie. But Ron Howard and Gary Marshall resisted. They understood the balance between wholesome warmth and rebellious charisma that made the series special. Instead of dividing the show, they fused the two worlds together: Richie's moral sincerity and Fonzie's effortless cool. This shift changed more than one television series. It changed television culture itself. In the cautious landscape of 1970s broadcasting, where moral lessons still ruled, Fonzie offered a safer kind of rebellion, a cool exterior wrapped around a gentle heart. It was the perfect fantasy for viewers caught between old values and new freedoms. From Ron Howard's reluctant beginning to Henry Winkler's unexpected rise, Happy Days proved that greatness often comes from accidents, choices made for survival, or roles written as afterthoughts. Together, they set the tone for a series that would define nostalgia for decades to come. Fact 10. Fonzie's leather jacket battle with censors. Before Fonzie became a symbol of American cool, his iconic leather jacket was nearly banned from television. In the early seasons of Happy Days, network censors at ABC viewed the jacket as a sign of rebellion, a visual link to gang culture and delinquent youth. To them, a leather jacket wasn't fashion, it was a warning. They feared it would offend parents still cautious in the post-1960s moral landscape. Their solution: Fonzie could only wear the jacket when standing beside his motorcycle, as if it were purely for safety rather than style. This strange rule led to equally strange staging. Suddenly, motorcycles appeared in unlikely places, parked at diners near lockers, even inside garages that had never been shown before. The workaround became part of the show's charm, and when Fonzie finally earned the freedom to wear his jacket anywhere, it felt like a small victory for a new kind of hero. The jacket, once censored, became a symbol of wholesome rebellion, proof that a character could look dangerous but act decent. It also marked a subtle turning point for television. As the 1970s unfolded, audiences no longer feared the image of the bad boy. Instead, they embraced him as a figure of independence and authenticity. Fonzie's leather jacket bridged generations, showing that cool could coexist with kindness. It was a revolution wrapped in cowhide, and the censors perhaps unknowingly helped create one of pop culture's most enduring icons. Fact 9. The mystery of Chuck Cunningham's disappearance. Just as Fonzie was rising to stardom, another character quietly vanished into television history. Richie's older brother Chuck Cunningham appeared during the first 2 seasons, a college basketball player with little dialogue and even less purpose. Then one day he was simply gone. No farewell, no explanation, no mention. The Cunninghams went from 3 children to 2, and the audience was expected not to notice. This unexplained disappearance fascinated fans and critics alike. Years later, the phenomenon was given a name: the Chuck Cunningham syndrome, the term used whenever a TV show erases a character without explanation and pretends they never existed. In Chuck's case, it wasn't malice or scandal, just creative evolution. The writers realized that with Fonzie's growing popularity, there was no need for another male sibling. The family dynamic worked better with Richie at the center, and Fonzie as his moral and cultural counterweight. Chuck's disappearance became both a joke and a lesson for television writers. It revealed how flexible TV storytelling could be, how easily reality could shift for the sake of rhythm and character chemistry. In a way, Chuck's absence helped refine Happy Days into the show it was meant to be. Television is full of perfect illusions, and sometimes what disappears tells us as much as what remains. Fonzie's leather jacket had once been too rebellious for family audiences, while Chuck Cunningham's existence became too ordinary for primetime entertainment. Both changes, though opposite in spirit, reflected the same truth. Happy Days wasn't just recreating the 1950s, it was reinventing the idea of what American television could be. Fact 8. Henry Winkler's fear of motorcycles. Behind the swagger, the effortless smile, and the legendary "I, Henry Winkler," was hiding a fear that could have shattered the Fonzie myth entirely. The coolest man on American television, the one who could fix jukeboxes with a single hit, was terrified of motorcycles. The fear wasn't mild. Winkler couldn't balance the machine, couldn't control the clutch, and wanted nothing to do with real riding. The irony was delicious. The nation's rebel icon, who embodied freedom and fearlessness, couldn't ride the very thing that defined his character. So, the production team improvised. When Fonzie rode through Milwaukee, the bike was often towed by a truck, and when the camera zoomed in on Winkler's calm face, the motorcycle wasn't moving at all. In close-ups, the background rolled past while Winkler pretended to drive. It was a perfect illusion television at its best. The audience never suspected a thing. The actor's confidence sold the fantasy so completely that Fonzie's bike became an extension of his legend. Decades later, Winkler would laugh about it, admitting he wasn't willing to crash for method acting. But that fear, rather than diminishing the character, added depth to his performance. It reminded viewers that even icons are built on imperfections, a mix of courage, craft, and camera tricks. And that mix of fear and performance leads naturally to another near-fatal moment in Happy Days history, a time when fear wasn't on screen, but behind the scenes, as the entire show teetered on the edge of cancellation. Happy Days. Nearly canceled before live audiences saved it. In its early seasons, Happy Days struggled to find its rhythm. The single camera setup and canned laughter left the show feeling flat, disconnected, and strangely quiet for a sitcom about joy and friendship. By the end of season 2, ratings were slipping. ABC executives were ready to pull the plug. The nostalgia experiment, it seemed, had failed. But then came a brilliant decision that changed everything, bringing in a live studio audience. Suddenly, the laughter was real, the timing sharper, the energy infectious. Actors fed off the crowd, and scenes that once felt lifeless began to sparkle. Fonzie's finger snaps and Richie's awkward charm finally had the reactions they deserved. It wasn't just the format that saved Happy Days. It was the chemistry between performer and audience, the living heartbeat of television restored. Henry Winkler, who had been magnetic on camera, became electric on stage. Each entrance, each eye, triggered waves of applause that turned him into a phenomenon. The transformation was instant. Ratings skyrocketed, catapulting Happy Days to #1 in the 1976-77 Nielsen ratings and securing its legacy for a decade. What began as a show on life support became a cornerstone of American pop culture. In a way, the live audience gave Happy Days a second chance at life, just as Fonzie's motorcycle gave Winkler the courage to act fearless. Both moments revealed a truth at the heart of entertainment. Behind every illusion of perfection lies the human need to adapt to keep the show alive, and to believe, if only for half an hour each week, that life could always have a happy ending. Fact 6. Tom Hanks's karate-chopping guest appearance. Before he became one of Hollywood's most beloved actors, Tom Hanks made a brief but unforgettable stop in Milwaukee. In 1982, long before Forrest Gump or Saving Private Ryan, he appeared on Happy Days as a vengeful karate enthusiast named Dwayne Twitchell, a man determined to settle an old childhood grudge with Fonzie. The story was absurd, even by sitcom standards. Dwayne claimed that years earlier, Fonzie had pushed him off a swing, and now he wanted revenge. The episode A Little Case of Revenge aired late in the show's run, when Happy Days was experimenting with self-parody and nostalgia within nostalgia. Yet in retrospect, this odd cameo became a stepping stone for Hanks. Ron Howard, already shifting into directing, remembered Hanks from that day on set. His comic timing, his gentle warmth, and the way he turned a silly premise into something strangely human. 2 years later, Howard cast him in Splash, launching Hanks's path to superstardom. It's a remarkable example of how a show built on nostalgia for the 1950s quietly helped shape the Hollywood of the 1980s. A sitcom about jukeboxes and high school dances ended up being the unlikely birthplace of one of cinema's greatest careers. And that wasn't the only legacy Happy Days left behind. Just one season earlier, it had given the world a phrase so iconic that it still defines pop culture missteps today. Fact 5. The birth of the phrase, jumping the shark. In 1977, during its 5th season, Happy Days took a turn so outrageous that it entered linguistic history. In the 3-part episode, Hollywood Fonzie traveled to California and agreed to a water skiing stunt, one that required him to jump over a live shark. Wearing swim trunks and his leather jacket, he soared across the water in a scene so bizarre it made viewers blink twice. It was meant as spectacle, but it soon became a symbol. Years later, 2 college students coined the phrase, jumping the shark, to describe the exact moment when a TV show crosses the line from brilliance to desperation, when creativity gives way to gimmick. Ironically, Happy Days continued for 6 more seasons after that moment, often ranking high in ratings. But the term stuck, becoming cultural shorthand for any series that loses its magic by trying too hard to keep it. What's fascinating is how that single moment encapsulated the duality of Happy Days, a show capable of both genuine heart and absurd excess. Fonzie's leap wasn't just a stunt, it was a metaphor for the show's ambition to defy limits to keep surprising its audience, even at the risk of ridicule. From Tom Hanks's unexpected cameo to the shark-jumping spectacle, these moments marked the extremes of the Happy Days universe, the birth of stars, the birth of idioms, and the daring spirit of a show that refused to fade quietly. It taught television that risk, even when it borders on absurdity, is the price of staying unforgettable. Fact 4. Happy Days as a spin-off from Love American Style. Before it became one of television's most beloved sitcoms, Happy Days began as a quiet experiment. In 1972, a single episode titled Love and the Happy Days aired as part of the anthology series Love American Style. It was a modest story about a suburban family getting their first television set, a gentle slice of Americana that captured the optimism of the 1950s. Richie Cunningham was there, played by Ron Howard. Marion Ross appeared as the ever-patient mother, and Potsy made his first awkward jokes. But there were no leather jackets, no jukeboxes, and certainly no Fonzie. The pilot came and went without much attention until 1973, when George Lucas released American Graffiti. The film's success ignited a national wave of nostalgia for the simplicity and style of post-war America. Sensing an opportunity, ABC revived the unused Happy Days concept. This time, the network gave it a stronger focus, added Fonzie as the embodiment of cool, and turned Milwaukee into a symbol of mid-century innocence. By the time Happy Days officially premiered in 1974, it wasn't just a sitcom, it was a love letter to an imagined past. The show offered comfort in a turbulent era, as America dealt with political scandals, economic struggles, and shifting social norms. Each laugh track and family dinner scene became an escape into a world where problems could be solved in 22 minutes. That gentle escapism mixed with the rhythm of rock and roll turned Happy Days into a cultural phenomenon. And as it became America's weekly time machine, the show started crafting its own mythology. A mythology that included one of television's most peculiar running jokes. Fact 3. Fonzie's hair that never needed combing. Fonzie's hair was more than a hairstyle. It was an institution. Always perfect, always immovable, it symbolized effortless confidence. Yet the secret behind that signature look was surprisingly deliberate. Henry Winkler decided early on that Fonzie would never be shown actually combing his hair on screen. In most scenes, he'd simply pull out a comb, glance at the mirror, and put it away with a proud smirk. The gag never got old. Audiences laughed every time, and the moment became one of the show's trademarks. The decision wasn't vanity, it was character design. Winkler wanted Fonzie to transcend cliché. Instead of being just another greaser fussing over his appearance, he would be perfection itself. His look wasn't something he worked for, it was something he naturally possessed. The joke elevated him from character to legend, a man so cool that gravity itself respected his hair. Behind the scenes, of course, the illusion required endless attention. Makeup artists and stylists worked tirelessly to keep Winkler camera-ready, using sprays and gels to maintain that signature silhouette. But on screen, the myth remained untouched. The never-combed hair became a metaphor for the show itself, the illusion of ease crafted through discipline and design. Just as Happy Days made nostalgia look effortless, Fonzie made perfection look natural. It was the art of television distilled into a single moment, the ability to turn something simple into something unforgettable. Fact 2. A monkey almost played Fonzie. Long before Henry Winkler's face was immortalized on lunchboxes and leather jackets became the ultimate badge of cool, the role of Fonzie nearly went to someone else entirely, and the thought now seems almost impossible. Among the early contenders was Mickey Dolenz, the energetic drummer and comic heart of the 1960s pop group The Monkees. Dolenz had the charisma, timing, and TV experience to bring humor to the part. Yet there was one problem: he was too tall. Standing 6 feet, he would have towered over Ron Howard, breaking the visual balance between Richie and his cool mentor. Producers passed on Dolenz, and the role went instead to Henry Winkler, whose smaller stature and subtler energy fit the show's visual and emotional rhythm. It was a narrow decision, one that might have changed the very texture of Happy Days. Dolenz would have played Fonzie as a louder, more exaggerated character. Funny, yes, but less mysterious, less magnetic. In hindsight, the casting choice turned out to be destiny. Winkler's controlled calm, his soft voice, and his slow, deliberate gestures made Fonzie an icon of understated strength. The near miss with Mickey Dolenz is a reminder that pop culture often hinges on details invisible to the audience. A few inches of height, a slight change in tone, a casting director's instinct. In the end, Winkler didn't just play a character, he built an archetype. The world didn't need another slapstick hero. It needed a legend who could say more with a nod than most actors could with a speech. That same instinct for reinvention would carry Happy Days into one of the strangest turns in television history, a time-traveling spin-off that defied every law of logic, but somehow still captured the heart of its audience. Fact 1. The time travel cartoon spin-off. By 1980, Happy Days had already become a nostalgic institution, but television wasn't finished, stretching its universe. That year, the characters leapt not over sharks this time, but through time itself. The Fonz and the Happy Days gang, an animated Saturday morning series, sent Fonzie, Richie, and Ralph Malph traveling through history with a futuristic girl named Cupcake and a talking dog named Mr. Cool. It was part science fiction, part comedy, and entirely absurd. In the cartoon, Fonzie fixed time machines instead of jukeboxes, while his friends scrambled through ancient Rome, the Wild West, and outer space. The concept made little sense, yet it captured the wild imagination of early 1980s children's programming. Remarkably, Henry Winkler, Ron Howard, and Don Most voiced their own animated counterparts, lending authenticity to what might have been dismissed as a gimmick. The show ran for 2 seasons, defying expectations and proving that even a family sitcom could reinvent itself in surreal ways. Looking back, the cartoon stands as a bizarre but charming artifact of its era. It reflected television's endless appetite for reinvention, the willingness to take beloved characters and drop them into any setting, no matter how strange, just to keep the magic alive. The Fonz and the Happy Days gang was proof that the 1950s spirit of optimism could survive even the chaos of time travel. From its grounded beginnings in a Milwaukee diner to its animated leaps through history. Happy Days demonstrated television's greatest superpower, the ability to transform, adapt, and endure. The show ended in 1984, but its echoes, the catchphrases, the laughter, the lessons still ripple through every nostalgic reboot that follows. Half a century later, Happy Days still glows in memory, a window into a time when television was gentler, stories were simpler, and heroes wore leather jackets instead of capes. Behind its laughter and jukebox tunes, though, lay a world of untold truths, a young actor who stayed only because of the draft, a supporting role that became legend, a missing brother erased from family history, and a motorcycle that never really moved. Each fact revealed not just the quirks of a beloved show, but the evolution of television itself, from moral lessons to marketing icons, from safe suburbia to surreal time travel. The legacy of Happy Days endures because it captured something universal, the longing to believe that somewhere life could still be that innocent. It bridged generations, launched careers, and changed the language of pop culture. Even its missteps, the shark jumps, the vanished characters became part of its mythology, reminders that imperfection often makes a story timeless. Of the 12 facts above, which one surprised you the most? Was it the missing brother, the cartoon time machine, or the secret fear of the coolest man on television? Thank you for watching, for remembering, and for keeping these memories alive. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more journeys through television's golden past. See you in the next video. This is TV Time Capsule.